Hello everybody and welcome to episode 6 of Get Your Flicks Out. I am joined by... It's alright, you can show your face now, that's the worst part over with, I think. I am joined by a car boot enthusiast, a Barbie enthusiast, a Jim Henson enthusiast, a collector of cool stuff enthusiast, Cara, McGlinchey. And I got it right.
You did.
I've spent 3 hours trying to pronounce her last name. I realised that I've been pronouncing it wrong for the last several years by calling you McGlinchey. But there's no L there, so I don't know where that came from. Thank you for letting me into your home. It's much better than mine, to be honest, with my boring cream wallpaper.
It's
like you
very
got,
strange.
I've never asked what this actually is.
Oh
either.
yeah, I made it out of that's like ripped strips of cotton and a stick that I found. Usually it goes at the end of my bed there and like creates a split in the room.
Right. Okay. But
yeah.
Fair enough. Right. So we're gonna find out the films that made you as a person and all that jazz. But before we start, I need to know, it's a Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. What snacks do you get at the cinema? What are you going for?
Well, it used to always be that I would get like popcorn, and then when I started working at a cinema, I could get stuff for cheaper, because I would usually just get popcorn because you'd just get that. But then when I realised, oh, these are the price of things and I understand it better now, I'd just get nachos. Like nachos.
Do you?
Yeah.
Don't
but
strike me as a
where
nacho.
I worked, like the last place I've worked, then they did barbecue flavoured nachos. So the chip itself was barbecue flavour.
Dirty.
And that with cheese sauce, salsa and jalapenos was so good.
Wow.
But it gives you like intense heartburn for the rest of the film.
I imagine the exit experience isn't that pleasant either. That's right, because I had it's the cheese, because on my last episode I spoke to Atifu, big nacho man, and I said that like View couldn't legally call their cheese, could they call their cheese?
Is yours like sealed?
No, we didn't do them at my
you
previous.
didn't, yeah.
We were too good for that.
So where I did at Odeon before, obviously it's just like you spoon it out like a ladle.
I want to say made fresh, but
yeah, made fresh like maybe like 10 years ago, and then they just kept it
in a lab in
storage.
Transylvania somewhere.
But like we had it, the cheese sauce like essentially tasted the same, except it was in a little
pre-sealed
pot.
Yeah. Okay, they do that in Cineworld as well. Yeah,
but people would get annoyed because they'd be like, "I want more cheese. Why is it always in this pot?" And they don't realise that's much cleaner and much safer to have it that way.
Yeah, like the Odeon cheese wasn't even halal at one point.
Really?
Like, how can cheese not be halal? Like, it's not been killed the right way. What popcorn would you go for, sweet or salted?
It used to be sweet, and then I went through like a mixed phase, and I think now I've reached like salty phase.
Yeah, I'm always feeling salty.
I think everyone goes through like phases when they're like, you're an adult when you like choose to get salt popcorn.
Yeah, because I always feel like as a kid, your parents wouldn't let you have salt. Yeah. I'm with the same, and then I'm like, I'm an adult now. Get me on that salt hype.
And sweet popcorn does this weird thing where like after like an hour of eating it, your mouth tastes like shit. Like after that time that your mouth tastes fucking weird.
But the best part of sweet popcorn, I feel, is when when you get the crystallised sugar.
Yeah, there's just a hunk of sugar.
God.
That's the best thing about working in a cinema, is that you have like access to the hunks of sugar. So you like go in the popcorn warmer, pick up the scoop, look for hunks of sugar, pick them out, and then be like.
It's what I imagine heroin's like.
Yeah.
So, what drink would you go for?
I don't really like,
because you don't drink fizzy drinks.
No, I don't really like fizzy drinks. Like sometimes I'll get like whatever the fizzy, like orange or lemonade is, so like 7-Up or Tango. Yeah. Or I'm not really that mad about Ice Blast, to be honest.
No, I've spoken about this previously.
There's so much like hype over Ice Blast, and they're not that great, and they're sugar free. So have something with sugar.
Yeah, no, you pricks. Yeah, there's a dessert like takeaway. They're very in at the moment, and they serve Tango Ice Blast. And every time I drive past it, I see the machine, and I get PTSD.
I remember seeing like when I lived in Glasgow, there was a shop selling an Ice Blast machine.
Fucking
like
hell.
Literally, like a corner shop was like, "Do you want to buy our Ice Blast machine?" And it was like 500 quid.
Well, let's see if it's still there. That's day trip sorted. Okay, right, so we'll go for nachos and a lemonade or a Fanta.
Yeah, I guess like lemonade or an orangey drink. That's usually what I get now. But then because when you work at a cinema, obviously you get like discount on the food. So I just end up getting loads of sweets. Like sweets and chocolates and stuff that's really noisy in the film. And then you have to wait for a moment in the film where it's loud to be like,
quick, get them. Right. Okay, cool. So Cara, McGlinchey from Rochdale.
Is this a police interview? Where were you at this time?
What is the first film you recall seeing?
Apparently, I don't remember it, but apparently when I was like proper little, I used to watch The Lion King on repeat, like the videotape. Like, so I would watch it to the end and then rewind it and watch it from the beginning. But I don't remember that.
No.
Like, the first ones I remember watching were like, maybe like All Dogs Go to Heaven. Do you know that?
I've heard of it, but
yeah, there's stuff like that, like weird animated films that not many people remember.
That are traumatic for children as well. So yeah, I mean, you've seen Mufasa die, so I guess a bunch of dogs dying is like second nature, really.
Yeah, a lot of like those kind of films. With my grandma, I remember I used to watch like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Mary Poppins, and stuff like that. Like, they're all really weird now. Like, I was thinking about earlier as well, the Return to Oz film. Have you ever seen that? That's
yes, but it's traumatic.
Terrifying film. Because you asked me like about what films I watched when I was a kid, and I was thinking, what films do I really remember watching as a kid that affected me? And like, I don't think I've ever been the same since I watched that. That film opens with Dorothy getting shock treatment because she's like remembering Oz, and they're all like, "You're fucking mental. You need to get shock treatment." I
think there's a really good. I was talking about this with Lauren about Alice in Wonderland. I think there's a really good potential to make like a really dark, like a modern version of Wizard of Oz. I know they did the
game for Alice, didn't they?
Yeah. But like a really twisted version of Wizard of Oz, I think could be really.
I feel like that's Return to Oz though. It's just a really twisted.
Well, yeah, because it's directed by Sam Raimi, isn't it? So like Evil Dead dude. But,
you can tell with all the like the, I can't remember what they're called, but the things that are like made out of stone and they've got like a morphing face. It gives me very Evil Dead vibes. Like creepy.
Return to Oz, is that the one? See, I've not seen The Wizard of Oz in a while, so I might be getting confused. The poppy fields and they all like pass out. Is that the original?
Yeah, that's the original. Okay. That's the black and starts off in black and white. Goes into colour.
Okay. Right. What was the first film you remember seeing in the cinema?
In the cinema? I have no idea. Maybe like Monsters Inc. or something. Oh no, probably like Toy Story 2. Because I was born the year Toy Story 1 came out.
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing because it's like, me and my dad are both toy collectors.
Yeah.
And my mum and dad took me to see it. And obviously, like, the fucking Owl's Toy Barn, like, guy, my mum just was like, and he looks like my dad as well. Like, my dad looks like Al from Toy Story 2, and he is a toy collector. And, like, when he's, like, getting all passionate about the toys, and then that guy comes and, like, cleans Woody and stuff, my mum just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And, like, as I've grown up now, obviously everyone loves Toy Story.
I remember seeing that at the cinema, and that was, so that's 99, I think. And I remember that being the first time where I thought, bloody hell, there's a lot of trailers before. I remember it's been half an hour. I was like, what, how old would I have been? Like 8? No, I would have been younger than that. I would have been 6. And I was like, bloody hell, come on. But interestingly, I was speaking, you remember Carl from work, from Odeon? The old guy who'd been there for... Yeah. Because he's been there forever. He'd be great to get on this, actually.
Yeah.
I asked him what's the busiest film he's ever seen at Odeon Trafford, and that was Toy Story 2, apparently.
Do you know my first ever shift that I worked at Odeon Trafford was it right in the middle of summer holidays, the day that Finding Dory came out? That was my first shift on retail, and it was just basically like, go on this till, here's where the things are, go.
Good luck.
Like, I'll see you in 4 hours, you can have a break. Fucking hell. Wow. It was like such a baptism of fire, but it was worth it. Like, every cinema I've ever worked in since then, like, people would be like, oh, it's well busy. I'll be like, you don't know. You don't know, man, you weren't there.
I mean, I remember...
They have no idea.
No, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, the most recent job I had, which I quit yesterday. I would, during my interview, I was like, so what's the busiest day you've ever had? And she went, 800 people. And I was like...
800 people.
I used to do that in 20 minutes, mate. Get fucked.
Like, yeah, the queues, like, when it used to get proper queued up in the retail area, it'd just be like a sea of people, and then you'd basically just be stood at a till. There'd be like 10 of you lined up, and you'd just be like, next, who's next? It's like fucking the army or something.
People don't know that is actually the busiest cinema in the UK.
Yeah, it is, because did he get like Bollywood films when they release in India or something?
Yeah, crazy.
I don't know if that's the reason why.
1.2 million customers a year, I think. So what was the most recent? What was the last film you saw?
The last film I saw was Fast and Furious 9. F9. Which, when that first came out and people were coming to like the cinema that I worked at and they were like, tickets for F9. I was like, what the fuck is F9? I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking.
The hotkey on the
then
on
I'd
the
be
keyboard.
like, well, what I've got here is Fast and Furious 9.
It is one of the most surreal films I think I've ever seen.
It was like being in a sort of like engineer's kettle. because it was like, I don't drive and I have
Yeah.
like no real interest in cars at all. So there was loads of things happening where I was like, could you really do that? Could you really jump a car off the side of a cliff and magnetise it to the bottom of a jet as it flies
But
past?
there's the bit where the drawbridge breaks and they still
Yeah,
manage to
yeah.
drive a 90-degree angle.
The bridge is completely gone and then they're just like whoop up over the end.
I could talk about it. This whole episode could be about
Yeah.
F9, to be honest. My friend saw it the other day and he said he doesn't think he's seen a film where so much happens but so little happens at the same time.
There were so
Because there's
many
no
parts
plot.
there were so many parts where things happened in the story and then they were like, how do we move on from this? Here's a completely nonsensical answer to that. Like, Cardi B is now able to disguise herself and her gang as Interpol. And then the way that...
Why were they in London in the first place?
And the way that Dom... He's called Dom, isn't he?
Yeah.
The way that he spoke to her was like, she's been in every one of these films before.
Yeah.
And the last one I saw was like the 5th one, I think.
the only good one.
That was like years ago, so I don't remember it. So then after the film, I came out, I was like, is Cardi B in other films? And you're like, no, that's the first one she's been in. I was like, why the fuck is he talking to her like she's like the most... He's like, speaks to her like she's the most familiar character in the whole franchise.
Have you seen the original, like, from 2001, like the first one?
I have, but it was like, do you know in high school when... It used to happen to us, like, on Eid, when there wasn't a lot of people in, they'd just be like, oh, we'll just put a film on. Like, for some reason, our science teacher always used to put Monsters, Inc. on.
Right.
So I've seen Monsters, Inc. so many times. But one of the times, we definitely watched the first Fast and Furious, but that was, like, when I was in, like, year 8. So it was a long time ago now.
Because that film...
Well, I was speaking to my manager at the cinema, and he was like, oh, when I was young, we used to watch that and go speeding around in our cars and be like, let's go steal DVD players.
Yeah,
and now they're fucking going to space.
That was what I was going to say, is that the original one, they like heist in DVD players, and they've gone from that to fucking
we're going to space
in a car.
Yeah, we're going to space in a car in a diving suit with duct tape around the edges.
It feels...
And also, like, Jack was like, when Ludacris used to own a garage, and now he's like fighting fucking militia in the jungle. Like, what?
It's meant... Because I was like, there's also... It feels like it's become a parody of itself in the fact that there's that weird meta commentary
it's so
between...
self-aware.
Yeah,
and he's like, we're invincible. We're invincible.
You are. Like, and you don't... The fact that Vin Diesel pulls a building down... He pulls a building down.
Oh my god, when he jumps down to fight those guys and he's like, I've got to do it for my family. And then he shuts the door and he jumps down like this. Sorry, podcast listeners, I'm putting my arms up in the air like
it's gorilla. Mental. It's honestly...
It's so goofy.
It's probably the greatest film I've ever seen, to be honest.
I laughed a lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably the first time, like, I've watched a film in the cinema, like, in the whole of pandemic times where I was, like, proper laughing.
But they continue to make money. And I don't... Listen, if you like them, I'm not one to judge you, but you can like what you like.
People like cheesy films, don't they? If you're a guy and you like cars, obviously you're going to like a film where there's loads of different
It's the highest grossing film since the pandemic began as well, so we'll get F10 or FX, because they seem to change the titles every...
Yeah, that's what's so confusing.
Fate of the Furious,
like,
Fast 7.
I kept writing it, like, shorthand on all my notes for work, like FF9, and I was like, Final Fantasy 9? Confusing myself.
My arm's going really... By the way, I had my COVID vaccine today, so if I turn into a mutant, then...
You might die. I'll just carry on talking about Fast and Furious.
What a way to go out, to be honest. Just talking about F9 and turning into a mutant. Couldn't think of a better way to go. Next question is, do you scare easy, Cara? Do you like being scared?
I like to be scared, and I would say I scare easy on, like, a superficial level, but deep down I like scary things.
Okay.
Like, I think I probably look that way.
What film has scared you the most?
Right, I have a story about this. When I was younger, probably about 8, I remember I used to have a little TV in my room, do you know, with like a back about that big.
Yeah.
And I used to, like, sometimes when I'd go to bed, I would put it on really quiet and I would watch stuff, like, on telly.
Yeah.
And on Channel 5, there was, like, 100 greatest, scariest movie moments. And I saw, number 1 was a clip of Reagan from The Exorcist, all with a full makeup on, saying, like, I don't think she was saying your mother sucks cocks in hell, but it was some sequence where she was talking, you know, with that man voice.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that, and, like, that terrified me so much. I turned it straight off, fell asleep, had nightmares about it. The next day I went to school, was sat there in assembly, like, not paying attention to assembly, started to think about it and started crying.
Oh.
Like, that's how affected I was by it. But I think now, like...
Have you seen it since?
Yeah, it's really good.
That was my
I think
answer for the film everyone likes, but I don't
You
like.
don't
I think
like
I watched the director's cut, which is 2.5 hours long, and I
Yeah.
found it really boring.
Yeah, there's some bits in it like I don't understand why the spider. You know the spider walk down the stairs.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
was that not included? Because that's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that to me is like. In Exorcist 3, there's this bit, right? And I always think of it because it's kind of like a meme now, but I guess like it is scary
I've
as
heard
well.
the third one's really good.
Yeah, it is good. There's this part where this nurse walks out of a ward.
I know exactly what you're saying.
And then this fucking white-clad demon in a mask just walks behind it dead quick. And it's just one of those... It's kind of like... Reminds me of like... Do you know in The Shining when there's like things popping up?
Yeah.
Like the scenes popping up and it like just shocks you because you're like trying to work out what's going on.
That's
there.
often cited as one of the greatest jump scares ever.
Yeah.
I'll put a clip in now.
Whoa.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Yeah, so it's a great shot of like a corridor.
Yeah, just a corridor. There's like a nurse going around doing night checks. Like this security. I watched it the other day because I sent it to someone. This security guard like walks off, and then there's just an empty. You see the empty hallway, and then the nurse crosses from one room to another, and then there's this fucking.
And then it just crash zooms into.
It's so scary.
Yeah. So, The Exorcist, is that your answer for the film?
No.
God.
Actually, let me consult with my notes what I actually put. I put some things about Return to Oz.
Yeah,
but
right,
we spoke about that before. So stuff like The Shining, like things where the fear is actually like in the mind. Like I would say obviously The Shining has supernatural elements, and like the book definitely does. But I don't think like the Kubrick film. I think he was trying to make it a bit more ambiguous and say like, no, it's all in his head.
Yeah.
And then obviously they show the photo at the end, and it's like he wasn't there 100 years ago.
I still don't get the ending.
Yeah, it's very like Kubrick, isn't it? To like have you questioning, but stuff like that where it's all in the head, or I would say an amazing horror film that I always try and show to people, and I'd gauge if I like them or not if they like it. The original Wicker Man, which
is a musical, in
it's
my
a
opinion.
Musical.
Yes, it is.
It's got like the woman with the breasts out. I don't know why I said breasts. I've like sworn this whole time. She's like banging on the wall and trying to get the policeman to shag her and stuff. Yeah, that is such a good film because it's just it's not even like supernatural.
No.
It's just like totally like
crazy cult.
Aren't we a fucking weird place to live?
Yeah. Also known as Oldham. That's where it's set, right? Yeah, I love The Wicker Man. I've also seen the Nicolas Cage.
I knew you were going to say that. Not the bees. They're in my eye.
Well,
yeah,
I watched that at a mate's flat once just for a laugh, and I was like, "What?" Because I watched that first. I watched that before the original,
right.
So I was in for it.
And then you watched the original, you're like, "Oh,
it's
okay."
It's a musical.
Yeah, that's a
Wow,
play.
these microphones are crazy. You can hear the pilots. Okay, so your definitive answer for the film that scares you the most? What are you going for?
I really don't know because I love horror films. I watch a lot of horror films. Like I've seen a lot of horror films in my life. I love like East Asian horror films, like Japanese horror and stuff.
Yeah.
To me, is like to me is very scary.
I've never really dipped my toe in it. I've seen like the original Ring. I've never even seen that, and the original Grudge and stuff. But I've seen I think it's a Korean film. Have you seen I Saw the Devil?
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a bit rough. That
it's amazing. It's very like. I don't know, they always seem to take like subject matter that's very dark and scary and then just be like, let's make this even scarier, even darker, even like more
great film though.
spooky.
It's the bloke from Old Boy who's like the serial killer in it and stuff, who's a great actor.
Yeah, is that got the scene in where she's meeting with the kids' parents?
No, I remember you sending me a clip of that.
Oh my god.
That's the
that's another film, isn't it?
That's is it Lady Vengeance or something? Yeah. That's insane. That whole clip, like, oh my god, don't even put that in because you'll just like traumatize everyone.
You'll get banned from
I've got
platform.
I think I've got the Blu-ray at home. So the film that scares you the most?
Oh god, probably I don't know, maybe The Shining. Like The Shining, like that's the book that scared me the most.
Oh really?
Yeah, and the film's different. It takes a kind of different storyline, but I would say like probably that.
That's 2 in a row we've gone for The Shining. Okay, so are you a crier?
Yeah. I cry at everything though. Like
sorry, Jesus. What film has made you cry the most?
What did I put?
Oh, some select films.
Well, when I was little, I used to refuse to watch The Fox and the Hound because I think I saw it once and it like fucked me up.
Do you know what? I've
forever.
never seen it, but I used to have a copy of The Lion King on VHS, and there was a trailer for that on there, and I was like, no way,
freaked you out.
no way for me.
It's really sad. I don't know. I cry a lot. Like I remember, like maybe like 5. Oh my god, my tummy! Did you hear it rumble?
No, I could have got away with that.
My tummy just rumbled. I remember watching like Titanic a few years ago because I watched it when I was younger, and I kind of didn't like. I don't know why, but when I watched it a few years ago, I realised like it's really emotional, but it's trying very hard to be emotional.
Yeah.
Like it's trying its best to be.
I've never seen it as an adult.
It's very long. It's
3.5 hours.
Very
isn't it?
epic. Yeah, it's like. That's how I felt watching Fast and Furious 9. It's like fucking Lord of the Rings. It's so long. I wanted like an intermission in the middle of it where I could process everything.
Yeah, because I don't understand the concept of making it so long, Titanic, because it's like, just get to the boat sinking. Yeah. And my mum has got a fascination with the Titanic, and I don't know why. That's really random that you said that, because for some reason, me and Jack the other night ended up watching this thing on YouTube that was like, facts about the filming of Titanic, and it was basically just like apparently somebody, a disgruntled like staff member who poisoned everyone, put PCP in a drink. PCP's fucking well hardcore. That's so hardcore. Like I can't believe that. And he poisoned everyone, and everyone was like tripping out at this party, and James Cameron like made himself sick before he started tripping. Jesus, yeah, I've heard that story before. But yeah, my mum's fascinated with it. We've even been to the museum in Belfast, which is where they actually nice. Where it was built. Yeah. And it's still in operating harbour now. And I'm like, it's just a ship that sank. Yeah. Like, what's the fact? Like, there's I think there's something like 2 or 3 million ships that are sank, and I'm like, why does that one get all the credit? I don't know. I guess like maybe the film like romanticised it for a lot of people, like. But it sinks. Spoiler alert. Yeah, spoilers. It sinks. But I wouldn't say like that. There's like much deeper films that have made me cry. Like I kind of cried a bit at Parasite, you know. Did you? Yeah, I don't know why, because like I've mentioned it later on in my notes, so we'll talk about it after. But like I kind of cried a bit at that just because that, and oh my god, right. I wanted to mention this, and it seems so random, but I remember the first film I ever saw at the cinema. Do you know when you see a film when you're younger and you're like, I want to immediately go back and watch that again and again and again, was The Dark Knight. I was like 13 when that came out. And I remember I went to see it with my dad, and I was like, that's well good. Came home, instantly pirated it so I could watch it again. But I really just wanted to see like the Joker scene with the pencil. I just couldn't stop thinking about it because I was like, that was awesome. Like I want to see that again. And then I went back to see it like 4 or 5 times. And like I love, like, my dad loves Batman, I love Batman. Yeah. So when I went to see The Dark Knight Rises, that made me bawl so much at the end of it. Like, that, I think it's like a Chris Nolan thing. He's very good at, like, making personal things, but also very epic things, and, like, mashing the two together, and that makes me cry. Like, do you like The Dark Knight Rises? Because I hate it. I think, like, I like the story of it, but I don't like how it was executed. I feel like it needed, like, 2 segments. It needed 2 installments. I always said that. Batman Begins, 100% out of the trilogy now, I think Batman Begins is the best one. Really? Yeah, now that I'm older. Now that I'm an old woman. Yeah, because it's not... I remember watching that when it came out in the cinema. I was like, I found that really boring. Yeah. But in terms of Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul is awesome. Yeah, he's so awesome. Start doing proper films, Liam Neeson. If you're watching, stop doing like ex-Black Ops man who has his family. What's the one he's just done now? Like Ice Road Truckers. Also. Ice Road Truckers. I saw a trailer for it before Fast and Furious, and the trailer finished, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" Ice Road Truckers, the movie. It seems so random. Yeah, Dark Knight Rises, because I must have watched the trailer for that 100 times probably, and I went to the show at 10 in the morning because I was that excited to see it, and I felt really underwhelmed, and I've watched it maybe 2 times since, and I watched it last year because I did the trilogy, and there's just too many plot holes in it for me. Like when he's in a Moroccan desert and he can still get Gotham's cable TV shown to him. It's a victim of like, they obviously pushed Chris Nolan like, you need to round it up and tie it up with a little bow, and I think it could have maybe like after, I don't know, obviously like after Heath Ledger died, maybe like everyone that was involved with it kind of just wanted to get it over and done with because they felt like they could never top that. I would have liked to have seen a Riddler storyline made by Christopher Nolan. Yeah, that would have been really good. That would have suited his like style very much.
I'm going to watch Tenet this weekend. I'd never watched that yet.
Watch it with subtitles, because the audio design is abysmal.
Really?
Yeah, because there's like scenes where there's characters talking in like a train yard, and the trains are like louder than what they're saying. So yeah, watch it with subtitles.
Do you remember this? I don't know if you ever got told this story. This maybe happened when you worked at Trafford Centre Odeon, but when Inception came out, was it? Chris Nolan rang up Odeon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there was a friend of mine who was proper like quimming herself at the thought that he was, because there was rumours that he was going to come in.
Right. And it was for IMAX cinemas.
It was when Interstellar came out.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
And she was like circling like the dome, like, oh, Christopher Nolan's coming in work, Christopher Nolan's coming in work, and it was like, he's not gonna fucking come to the Trafford Centre on a Tuesday night, is he? And apparently, what he did, because the Printworks IMAX was actually a film projector, not like a digital projector. And he's all about that, isn't he? And apparently he rang them up. He didn't ring Trafford up, he rang Manchester up. Right. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's Christopher Nolan here. I just love what you do and all that shit. And apparently gave one of them a jacket or something.
What the fuck?
Yeah, there's a friend of mine who will probably know more about that. But yeah, me and Christopher Nolan go way back.
I remember them saying, like, he basically said, like, this is the level that I want the sound to be at. And giving them all specifics for, like, this is what I want the settings to be when people come and watch my film. And then at the Trafford Centre, the Odeon's above Selfridges, and apparently, like, on the first few showings, the volume was so loud that there was handbags, like, falling off of stands in Selfridges. Yeah, it's the opening shot of
Interstellar, because Christopher Nolan's mental, and he attached an IMAX camera to the side of a jet.
So
classic. The opening shot of Interstellar is like a jet flying, and apparently Selfridges came up and they were like, you've literally ruined our handbag display or something. Anyway, back on topic.
We've gone miles away.
Yeah, I know, we're talking about Selfridges. The film that go on. What you...
So for my main film, it's an Italian film called Life is Beautiful. Do people say that all the time?
As soon as you said Italian film, I was like, oh fucking hell, here we go. Pretentiousness, but I believe that is a Best Picture winner.
It's
from
amazing.
1997 or 6.
Yeah, it's I'm very surprised it hadn't won Best Picture. It's amazing. Like, it's just, I don't even want to spoil it. It's basically just like a World War II like film about a Jewish family from Italy. And
I was going to make jokes. But
no, I wouldn't make jokes. To be fair though, the guy in it, I can't remember his name now. Roberto Mancini? Is that right?
The manager of the Italian national team.
Oh my god. What's he called? I'm sure he's called Roberto.
Mancini. Wow.
I wish it was
acclaimed
him.
Film director Roberto Mancini, yeah.
The actor I'm thinking of. I can't remember his name. He was in a weird Pinocchio film.
Right, okay.
Okay. But basically, yeah, he was like a kind of comedy actor, and it's a weird like blend of like comedy and like obviously very dramatic film.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first segment of the first half of the film is like really kind of sweet and funny and like comedy-esque. And then the second half is just like
time to cry.
Yeah, but it's really good. Like, I would recommend people watch it.
So Life is Beautiful, starring Roberto Mancini.
Starring Roberto Mancini.
Former Manchester City manager and current Italian coach. Oh,
why did I say that?
That'll go in the trailer. No. Okay, next question, I believe, are my two favourite ones. Is there a film that everyone dislikes, but you love and you like, you'll die for it, you'll do anything for it?
I didn't know what to put for this. I guess, like, I don't really know many films that people genuinely dislike.
Right.
Like, if they feel that deeply about a film, they need to, like, take a fucking chill pill. I put The Devil's Rejects, you know, like Rob Zombie film.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think Rob Zombie gets kind of
a bad rep.
Yeah, for being, like, schlocky or whatever. But I think he's carved his own little niche in the horror world, and he just does films that he obviously like loves doing.
Yeah.
And The Devil's Rejects was the first like Rob Zombie film I ever watched. So I would say like House of a Thousand Corpses is very Rob Zombie. Devil's Rejects is a bit more
it's a trilogy, isn't it?
Yeah. The Devil's Rejects is a bit more like mainstream Rob Zombie, and then he did a remake of Halloween.
He did two, didn't he?
Yeah, and everyone like shits on them, but I think they're pretty good. Like, the original Halloween is perfect, but I think for the remake, like at least he did it in his own way.
Yeah,
and at least he
put his own style towards it. Okay,
he made them all like redneck as fuck.
That to me is what you should do with a remake instead
100%.
of. Have you seen the Psycho remake? With Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates.
No.
Did you not know this existed?
Wait, this is ringing a bell, but I'm just thinking of that film that's out now called Freaky.
No, it's from the late 90s, and it's directed by Gus Van Sant, who did Good Will Hunting and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's a shot-for-shot remake.
What the? This is ringing a bell,
it
but
stars
I don't...
Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates.
Yeah.
It's got Viggo Mortensen is in it as well.
That's so random.
And William H. Macy's in it, and Julianne Moore is also in it. So there's some pretty big names in it, and it's just fucking crazy. Honestly, it's so bad. Which is weird considering it's a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
And still manages to...
How can they make it bad? But it's not like...
But the fact that Rob Zombie's managed to...
Yeah, you're always going to be comparing. If you're going to do something shot-for-shot, you're just going to put them side by side and say, this is good, this is bad. Like, it's like when they put... I don't know what it's making me think of it, because I've not watched it yet, but the Justice League, like... original cinematic release against the like Zack Snyder cut, and it's like two different things, even though they're using the same kind of source material.
Right, The Devil's Rejects. What's it about? Sell it to me.
I don't even know where to start. Basically, it's like fucked up family that goes around killing people.
Sold.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like very violent. It's like, I don't know, it's got kind of maybe like Quentin Tarantino vibes, I want to say, but just in terms of like the mixture of like violence and comedy and stuff.
Yeah, it's on my watch list.
It's good. It is good. That's another one. Like, do you know what? It's a really... I don't know if they do it anymore, but I used to watch when I was younger a lot of films just on Friday nights on Film 4.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's where I watched most of, like, films that I'm like, I love that film, that's a great film.
Yeah.
It was from watching them on Film 4.
Okay.
And that was one of them. They used to show, like, was Friday night the horror night or Saturday night?
Maybe, I don't know.
They used to show it, they used to show it a lot on that, and I just watched it one time. I was like, that's pretty good. And I also saw, like, a lot of Japanese horrors that way.
Yeah.
One Missed Call, that's a good one.
Okay.
I saw that one on Film 4
I need to really expand my knowledge of foreign cinema, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm not one of those people like, subtitles, different language, get in the fucking bin, mate. Because Pan's Labyrinth is one of my favourite ever films.
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth's really good. I rewatched that recently. That's really good. I actually really liked, what was that other one that he did with Tom Hiddleston?
Oh, Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak, yeah. It's kind of, maybe that would be on my, like, films that people dislike that I like. I think
got a bad rep, didn't it?
Yeah, it gets a lot of shit, but it's like the problem is with how they advertise films sometimes. Like, if they try and sell that film as a horror film, it's not. It's like a gothic romance that just happens to have like horror in it. That's how I would describe it. It's not. It's like any Del Toro film where it's got like horror in it, but I wouldn't say Pan's Labyrinth's a horror film.
No,
it's a fantasy
film.
Yeah,
with the fucking guy in it. Okay, so in the reverse to that question, which is probably my favourite question in the whole round of questions, is there a film that everybody loves, but you're like, nah, get in the bin, mate?
Joker.
2 in a row now for Joker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad, because I thought I'm going to have to really argue.
No, I agreed with, like, again, I can appreciate a lot of it. I love the score. I think the performance, you can't say it's not a good performance. But it's just
for me, the thing that held it up was his performance.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only... He was, like, holding on by a thread, and he was the thread.
And I've said that it's a film that... It's the film that appeals to white, straight men.
It's the most, like... If you like very heavy-handed metaphors, but like pretending it's very deep and it's not being heavy-handed, that's the film.
That's the film for you. It's the kind of people who like, Wolf of Wall Street's fucking sick, mate. Fight Club.
It's so deep.
Yeah, it's so deep. I've never seen anything like it. Well, watch a foreign film, mate.
Like that's when I was talking about Parasite before. That's what I wrote in my notes, like, because I'd watched. I think maybe like they showed Parasite at cinemas around the same time because of when they show things like that have been Oscar nominated. Yeah. So I saw Parasite a couple of weeks before at the cinema and was like, wow, that was amazing. I love that. I can see why it won. And then I went to see Joker and was just like, wow, what a mirror image of like something taking a metaphor and like dancing around it and not being too obvious and like having its own set story that made sense and was good, and then being like, and this is also the point we're trying to make, which is Parasite, and then Joker just being like, mental health bad, rich people bad. And for some reason they made Thomas Wayne out to be some like dick. Why did they make him a dick? I thought he was supposed to be a good guy, and that's who Bruce was like looking up to.
But no, society. Society is a lie. We live in a society, guys.
Yeah, we live in a society. I just thought like the whole and then coming out of it and hearing people like, oh, was he imagining it, or like, I don't give a fuck. Like, most of the time when you watch a film and you come out thinking like, oh my god, he was imagining all of it. Was it real? Was it not? You think about it, but like The Shining's a good example where at the end you're just like, whoa, was he really there? But out of Joker, I literally just thought, I don't care. Like, he shot Robert De Niro in the face. Cool.
You get what you fucking deserve. Yeah, but would you see a sequel to it?
It depends.
Or would you be open to a sequel to it?
Because the guy that directed it is the guy that
Todd Phillips,
The
Hangover.
Which is like good for him for doing something different. Like, I wouldn't say like it's obviously not a bad film. Like, if I had options between watching that and something else that I hated even more, I'd probably choose that. But I just think people's reaction to it and acting like it was the best film ever made, that's what made me dislike it.
And the fact it plays Gary Glitter music in it as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
To be honest, it's a banger. Separate the art from the artist, guys. I still listen to Lost Prophets.
I didn't know it was Gary Glitter, and then knowing that it was that afterwards, it was like, oh, that is creepy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Okay, staying on a negative note.
Oh, good.
What's the worst film you've ever seen, Cara McGlinchey?
I've definitely written Fast and Furious 9, though.
I think you'll find
Fast and Furious 9. But I've just put...
I think you'll find that's the best film ever made.
This is terrible, but it's so self-aware that it's great. But on this other bit, I'll just mention this, because this is important for me to mention. I had never seen Rambo, right? Which I don't think is the worst film ever made. No. I had never seen Rambo, and I thought going into it, this is going to be like a schlocky action film. It's going to be great.
Is this
fun.
the original?
The original Rambo.
Okay.
And I was so shocked when I watched it, and it was literally just like Sylvester Stallone is in the jungle with PTSD. He's not in the jungle, he's in the forest with PTSD, and he's talking about his mate's legs getting blown off in Vietnam, and he's saying like, all cops are bastards. Like,
hey, cop.
Honestly, I was so shocked when I watched that film that it wasn't what I thought it would be. That it kind of made it bad to me, but also I can see why it's good. Yeah. And then I got onto a kick of watching those kind of films, because I'd never seen like those kind of action films from the 80s. And me and Jack, we watched Commando,
with
is
Arnie.
It called? That is the fucking goofiest shit I've ever seen in my life.
No, Commando's great. Is that
the opening sequence, right? Do you remember that the very opening sequence is him like messing with his daughter, like bonding? No, that sounds wrong. Like bonding with his daughter, like doing activities with his daughter. And there is one
playful activities.
Yeah, there's one scene in it where he's there trying not to look like a giant mutant person, right? Like next to this like little kid feeding a deer, and for some reason I just found it like the funniest thing ever. He's like gently hand feeding this deer. Yeah. But that film was like, to me, was like a bad film, but it was good. Yeah, I think there's a lot of films. There's a lot of stuff that is like bad but good. Yeah, like The Room. Have you seen The Room?
Of course, I've seen The Room.
The Room is like maybe that's the sexiest film. Do you know when you said what's the sexiest film? That film has got like the most sex scenes in it that I've ever seen.
And Tommy Wiseau
for so long,
and he was quite bizarrely ripped as well.
Yeah, bizarre body, bizarre. Everything about it's so bizarre. But the most bizarre thing is that like for some reason instead of having like a normal sex scene where it's like a minute long, it was like 5 minutes of like simulated sex between Tommy Wiseau and like this actress. It's just like,
please kill me.
Yeah.
I've had a brain fart. What were we talking about before the room? Oh, Commando. That's the one where
Commando.
Is that the one where he's like, I like you, Sully. That's why I'm going to kill you last. And then it's the guy from the Warriors, isn't it? The guy is Warriors. That's it. And then he's like, remember when I said I killed you last? I lied. And he just drops him. Yeah. Peak Arnie.
Another one we watched as well in that time was The Kickboxer. The John.
Oh, JCVD. Yeah.
That was crazy. There was a scene in that was so sexist. Like I couldn't believe it was happening. Where his brother is like paralysed, isn't he? He's in hospital.
Okay, I've never seen it.
All right. Well, his brother's in hospital. No spoilers. Sorry.
No, his brother's in
Kickboxer. His brother's in hospital in Thailand, and like. There's a sequence where the doctor comes in with a nurse and says, like, to Jean-Claude Van Damme, your brother's paralysed, he'll never walk again. And then they make some kind of joke, and the nurse is there, and his brother slaps the nurse on the arse, and then they all laugh. And then the nurse and the doctor just leave. Like, that's completely normal.
Oh, it's crazy, because that's late 80s, I think, Kickboxer. But yeah. I recently watched, this was around October, November, I got a really good pay from work, and I was like, for years I'd wanted the entire James Bond collection on Blu-ray, right?
Yeah.
And I got them and I watched them all in the space of it took me about 3 weeks. And in Thunderball, Sean Connery, people go on about how Sean Connery's the best Bond. He's the rapiest Bond.
Yeah,
right?
he's the creepiest.
Because there's a scene in Thunder. I felt so uncomfortable watching it. I felt like I was watching like the rape scene from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo or something. Like, so basically, there's a bit where he's been on a mission and he goes to some kind of spa to sort of get his back sorted out. And there's this machine that sort of vibrates you and it or something. I'll put a clip in so you know what I'm talking about. And there's this like nurse or staff member who works there, and she's telling him how the machine where he's just constantly he's like looking at her tits the entire time.
Oh my God.
And she's like, so yeah, you just press this and it'll vibrate. And he tries to get off with her, and she's like, get away from me, you fucking creep.
What the fuck?
And then he's like, and then he tries again. And she's like, no, fucking, I'm working, you fucking weirdo. Like, and then she fucks off, and then he goes on this machine, but someone tampers with it. Someone tries to kill him and tampers on this machine, and he's like,
I'm dying by the vibrating machine.
Yeah. And then the nurse sees him die. I'd let him die if I was. I'm just like, yeah, let him die. It was probably her he tampered with the machine, to be honest. And then she gets him up, and then he blackmails her to be like, yeah, and he's like, fuck me now, or I'll tell your boss that you left me to die on this machine. She's like, oh, James. And then they just get off in the sauna, and I'm like, wow, that is the rapiest shit I've ever seen.
Oh dear.
My goodness, yeah. So,
do you know what's a really good James Bond film, and it probably gets a lot of shit? GoldenEye.
GoldenEye is the best.
Oh
James
my
Bond
God,
film.
I'm so glad that you agree.
It's
good.
probably my 5th favourite ever film. I've actually got some film cells on my wall from GoldenEye.
Cool.
I am hard for GoldenEye.
GoldenEye's the one with the thighs woman.
Xenia on a top.
Xenia on a top, yeah. I'm thinking of like what.
She always did enjoy a good squeeze. Yeah. If I could watch, it's my favourite ever action film. GoldenEye.
That is a good film.
Yeah, I'd inject it into my dick any day. So yeah, Commando, and interesting fact about Rambo as well. So it's actually based off a book, the original one, and it deals with themes like PTSD, and it's very dark. And in the end of the book, he kills himself.
But see, I've yet to see the second one where it's like, we're going back to Vietnam.
Get
in the plane.
And then when the author sold the rights to the film, and then they made sequels, he couldn't make any more because he killed Rambo in the first one, so he's like, I can't make any more now, and apparently it's his like biggest regret and stuff. But they get very silly, and the most recent one is just Sylvester Stallone killing a bunch of Mexicans for 90 minutes.
I watched this thing on YouTube called like VFX Artists React.
Yeah,
and they'll do like stuntmen react and stuff like that, and I think it was on the stuntmen react they reacted to like the most recent Rambo. Yeah,
less blood.
It was just crazy. Just crazy stuff.
Yeah, just killing Mexicans. It's just Donald Trump's fantasy come to life, really. Okay. What's your favourite animated film?
Oh my God, here we go.
Cara McGlinchey.
From
what show?
So I've written down like Studio Ghibli, which I'm sure loads of people say.
No one said it yet.
Really?
Because everyone just jumps to like Disney films.
I know obviously
and stuff.
Studio Ghibli isn't one film.
And I've not fucking seen any of them.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel guilty for it.
I'm going to give you a list
Netflix.
of the order that you need to watch them in. Because they're all good.
The most recent one is like 3D animation, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's meant to be shit.
I think his son directed that, Miyazaki's son.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, the thing about Ghibli is that, like, they have this combination of, like, absolutely incredible animation and, like, technical skill, but then also the stories are so perfectly charming. Like, even if they're dealing with something really epic, like, they just make it really charming, and they have all these characters and, like, stuff in it that's just so sweet. Like, I think my favourite is maybe Howl's Moving Castle.
Right.
But... And if you watch the English dubbed version, Christian Bale is Howl.
Yes, I've heard.
Christian frigging Bale.
Batman himself.
Yeah, like he's really good. He's really good as Howl. He's like the perfect voice for it, I think.
I've actually been dreading for this, like, for someone to say Studio Ghibli, because I knew it would be coming. So
yeah, Spirited Away, obviously that won an Oscar. Spirited Away is so good. Like I can't. The Simpsons did like a little parody sequence from Spirited Away.
Oh, really?
You should show that in the video because it's really good. Like if you've seen Spirited Away, you'll see this and be like, "Whoa, they fucking love Spirited Away." It's really funny.
Yeah, I need to get on it. I know there's is it Totoro?
Yeah, Totoro, My Neighbor Totoro. That one's really cute. There's some of them that are more like, I would say Spirited Away is a family film, but it deals with really deep stuff and can be probably quite scary. But My Neighbor Totoro, like Ponyo, like the little fish girl. There's some really cute ones that are like more for kids. There's one called The Grave of the Fireflies that is like really emotional. That's probably like a film that makes me cry all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one's really good.
Sounds pretty deep.
But all the films are really good. And then I didn't want to just put, because I could just answer like a Japanese film for every one of these questions at this point. But as for like Western stuff, I've just put anything claymation, like The Corpse Bride. Like, I went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach recently. We went on the Wallace and Gromit ride, and that was so good. Like, I forgot how good Wallace and Gromit is. But when you look at it like that, it's like so impressive, really. Like Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm trying to think. Coraline.
Chicken Run. Yeah,
it's just so impressive. Like,
it must take so long to make.
Yeah, really
it's crazy.
painstaking process, but the outcome is amazing.
Yeah.
I think to me, it's like really artistic, and like the amount of expression they can get into Gromit just with his eyes and his eyebrows is crazy. Like, if you think about it, he doesn't say a word, does he?
No.
He's like silent the whole time, and he's like has so much expression.
Cheese, Gromit.
Cheese.
Okay. Cara, McGlinchey.
Oh, here we go.
I keep shitting myself thinking I'm going to say it wrong again. Objectively, what's the best film ever made?
To me, right. Here we go, because I'm going to say a Japanese thing. Oh. But there's this director called Sion Sono. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah,
Sono?
Of course, yeah.
This film is called Love Exposure, right? And it's probably people like that know his work would say it's his best film.
Yeah.
It's not the first one I watched, but I watched another one of his films and was like, whoa, I really like that. What else has he done?
Yeah.
And then I saw that everyone said, you need to watch this. So I just went and watched it. It's like 4 hours long.
Jesus.
Okay? I'm going to say it's 4 hours long. But that 4 hours, like, I was taken on a journey. Like, it's got everything in it. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. It questions religion. It questions, like, it's so existential.
Yeah.
He was like a punk poet in Japan in the 70s.
Right.
So a lot of his stuff is, like, he's obsessed. Well, I won't say he's obsessed with it, but he loves the image of, like, a strong punk female or a strong female. Do you know, like, how Tarantino has, like, these strong female characters that are, like, badass, but there's no... I hate in films when there's like a female character and then she does something badass and she's like, ooh, and I'm also a woman. Like, why do you have to bring that into it? Like, can't you just do something badass and just be like, yeah, and what? Like, Kill Bill. Kill Bill is a great example of like women just doing badass things. I hate to like go on about women, but obviously I'm a woman, so it relates to me and my experiences. But I think Sion Sono is like really loves like this strong female character, and then in his films, like his male characters, there's a lot of them are kind of like, they start off as like maybe weedy or like geeky, and then they kind of bloom into like who they really are, and I don't want to say man up because I don't like that term, but they basically
grow.
They grow as a character, and like because it's 4 hours long, there's a lot of characters in it. And also what he does as well that I really like is he's obviously obsessed with cults and the psychology of like what makes people be successful at leading a cult, what makes people like join a cult or be like susceptible to the suggestion of someone who's leading a cult and like doing all these things that people want them to do. Like a lot of his films have cults in, so I like that. But yeah, it's just a really good film. It's like, I would, if you're like a film person, I would recommend just watching it because it's great. It's got all the kind of crazy Japanese stuff in it. There's, I don't want to spoil
what's the overarching story? What is it?
Basically, there's this guy and he, like this lad, and he grows up like with a super Catholic family. His dad's a priest. He grows up really religious. And he wants to find the perfect girl who is like, he compares her to like the Virgin Mary. He wants his like Mary girlfriend. And then he sees this. It's so much deeper than that, the story, but I would say that's how it kind of starts off, and then it goes on and on and on. But he sees this girl who's like badass, but she's like religious as well, and he's like, whoa, that's awesome. It's so weird, like it's proper weird.
That's hot as fuck.
I'm not religious at all. I just think it's like the two things together. Like for some reason, he just like, I don't know, maybe he's like entranced by the idea of religion and stuff like that, and how it relates to like cults and stuff. But it's a really good film. It's really good. I did write on there as well, if I have to say things that aren't Japanese.
You can have some honourable mentions, of course.
Honourable mentions, I did put Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Okay.
I mean, obviously stuff like Goodfellas and stuff. I suppose everyone says that.
We've had the mine was 12 Angry Men. Who was second? Matt was Terminator 2. Who else have I had on? We've had Eternal Sunshine. We've had The Shining, The Godfather. But I hate mafia films because it's just the same four actors eating spaghetti in a restaurant, saying how they're going to shoot someone's son, and I'm just like.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, out of like the Scorsese, I would say Casino is better.
Oh no!
Do you not like Casino?
I got that.
I love Sharon Stone.
She's
in
the only
Casino.
Good part of that film for me.
James Woods as like the creepy pimp guy. He's awesome.
Hades. Yeah. No, out of his whole, I love Taxi Driver, and I love The Departed, which I don't really. It's not really. I know it's like more of a modern gangster film.
Yeah.
And not just like a bunch of Italian Americans going, "Hey, what you gonna do about it?" You know what I mean? Because people say, "Oh, you should watch The Sopranos," and I'm like,
yeah,
no,
The Sopranos is good, but it's very like you could never do another Sopranos. They're doing a prequel.
They're doing a prequel film, aren't they?
Yeah.
With his son. It's his son as well. He's playing Tony Soprano.
Really? I guess I will go and see it, but I don't think it needed it.
No.
That's how I would describe it.
I need to see the TV series first, but I just can't be people going, "Hey, I'm walking here."
Yeah, if you like that sort of thing, it is good, but HBO, basically, that was like a good stepping stone for HBO, and now they're like, look at us do all this shit. We're doing so much more.
Okay.
It's weird now, because TV shows are like films for
longer.
Yeah. Like, they have the budget. And
I've given up on TV. I think I can count on one hand maybe the TV series I've seen in full, and that would be Breaking Bad, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Game of Thrones, and because of the way Game of Thrones ended,
yeah, Game of Thrones has fucked me up now. Yeah, like I don't trust anyone.
And I was talking to someone recently about this. Is that it's quite fascinating, and it's probably how I'm going to talk about society again, guys. Is how quickly it's been erased from pop culture. Because do you remember? I
always say I have this thing where I'm like, something Game of Thrones will come up in my life, and I'll be like, remember Game of Thrones?
Because I remember I didn't watch it when it first started. I started watching it just before season 4 started, which is the best season.
I'd watched it just before season 4 started. The first 3 seasons, I sat on my bed with my laptop and watched 30 hours of Game of Thrones straight, because I was like, this is amazing. How I never watched
and it was one of those shows.
That's how into it
I don't like fantasy, really. That kind of fantasy, the sort of like Lord of the Rings sort of stuff. And it was a tough sell for me. And people were like, "Oh my god, you need to fucking see it, bro. There's tits and dragons and shagging." And I was like, "Oh."
That whole part of it was.
And then I became
very
one of
HBO.
Yeah, and I became one of them. I was like, "Mum, you need to see the show. There's tits and dragons and everything.
Mum, there's tits in it.
There's even knob in it and everything." Lily Allen's brother gets his cock out in episode 1.
Yeah,
and then she loved it. The show, not Alfie Allen's cock. And well, at least I hope not. And then for the way it ended, which I could talk about all day, but it was an atrocity. The way it ended, and people have just. It just shows how cutthroat we are, and they've just cast it aside. And
actually, to be honest, like, I don't want to get on talking about TV shows, because I could talk about them forever. But I would say, like, from like midway through the show, I never liked Daenerys' character, and I thought they wrote her poorly. I thought they just didn't make her I know she's not supposed to be likable, but I always just used to skip her parts.
Oh, really?
I went through that phase with, like, Arya as well, when she was, like, blind and shit. I was like, fuck this, I don't care. Like, I cared about, like, Sansa. I would say, like, Sansa had, for me, like, one of the best story arcs. Like, even over Jon Snow, who basically, like, should have stayed dead when he died, in my humble opinion. And then, obviously, there's all the theories, like, I don't know if you know any of the theories about, like, what's going to happen in the books and stuff.
Well,
the theories that they thought they were going to follow in the TV show, and then they were like, no, Arya's got this knife, remember?
It's getting a prequel TV series and films and stuff like that, but I think it's got to that'll come out and people are like, "Oh no."
Yeah, I just can't be asked.
Because of 8 bad episodes and a bad ending, people have just cast it aside.
Yeah.
But yeah, Game of Thrones, you were good once. Final question, Cara. I'm just going to call you Cara because I just can't. What is your favourite ever film? Is it Japanese by any chance?
It is Japanese, and it is by Sion Sono.
Okay.
Sion Sono? I don't know how to say his name. I feel bad
Mr.
if I'm
Sono.
saying it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually the first film of his I ever saw. It's called The Forest of Love.
Ooh.
It was not. It wasn't a Netflix film, but like they probably gave him funding to do it, and then said,
so it's relative. It must be recent then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I watched it like one day. I had loads of time to kill, and was like, I'm gonna watch something on my own on Netflix, because I just go through phases where I can't watch things on my own. Like just play on the computer and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like that.
And I saw it. I was like, it's Japanese. It looks cool. I'll watch it. And that film like changed what kind of films I enjoy, basically.
Okay.
Like, it's just got everything in it that I like. Again, it's got cult stuff in it. It's one of those based on a true story films, but the actual true story parts that they based it off, I couldn't believe that I thought they were the outlandish bits that he'd made up, but they were so fucking gory and horrible and scary.
Sick.
It's a really good film. It is really gory though, and it's got like a lot of like intense themes in it of like assault and stuff like that.
Okay.
Stuff that's like probably really intense for some people. I wouldn't say like I enjoy it, but I can watch scenes like that and respect the place they have in a story.
What's it about?
It's about, oh my god, it's another one of them where it's like about fucking 10 things at once. There's always in the films, like, he's obviously got a self-insert character of like, in this one it's really like obvious because there's these two kind of, it's based in the 90s I think, or maybe the 80s. There's two kind of like punkish guys that are like making a film, and then they meet this other guy, and then he gets involved in the film. But then also it's about, the true story part is about this man that really did like run a cult of people essentially. He like basically was like had this really weird personality where he was able to convince people to do stuff for him, and it goes on and on and on, and it goes very dramatic. But then there's also kind of a story in it about these like schoolgirls, and their friend dies and one of them keeps seeing a ghost and stuff like that. It's really weird. Jeez, it's just really weird.
That sounds really interesting good. To me. Well, obviously if it's your favourite. They
did the first time I saw it, it was like a 2.5 hour film on Netflix, and then they released a director's cut, which is actually like a mini series, and they've split it into 4 episodes.
Oh right, okay.
So it's a lot longer, but I've watched the director's cut now, and I would say it's edited in a more linear way, so it's easier.
Yeah, they've done that with the Hateful Eight.
Yeah, so it's easier to like process, and you can have breaks in between. I would say like probably watch the director's cut.
The Forest of Love.
Yeah, it's really good.
When you first said that title, I was like, Jesus Christ, there we go.
It's really gory. I need to say that because in case anyone goes to look for it, like, it's really gory and it's really violent. So you've been warned.
I'm sold. I love violent films.
And it's got like Japanese schoolgirls in their underwear. So.
Well, anyway, on that note, okay, The Forest of Love with.
Oh yeah, I did actually. I put an honourable mention for like any Jim Henson film, essentially. Like the
Muppets that's what I was still saying. I've walked into this bedroom and I was
like Jim Henson stuff. The Muppet films. When I was younger, I used to have loads of videotapes, as I'm sure many children of the 90s did. And I had the trilogy of Indiana Jones films, and I also had a trilogy of Muppets films: the Muppet Movie, The Great Muppet Caper, and Muppets Take Manhattan. Okay, and I would say out of those, The Great Muppet Caper is my favourite one. Right? Oh my god, you need to watch them because they are so like, they have such a. It's kind of like, do you know how Shrek has like adult humour, kid humour? Yeah. Jim Henson was doing that like years and years ago before Shrek ever even breathed into existence.
Leave the big green man alone.
But it like, I love puppetry anyway. I love like practical effects and stuff. Obviously, they're like, those films are full of it. Yeah. But I've just put an honourable mention there for like Labyrinth. I have so much Labyrinth merchandise. I love Labyrinth. I don't know what it is. There's just something about it. Jim Henson made Labyrinth.
With David Bowie's massive cock, I think we discussed.
Jim Henson made Labyrinth for his daughters because the actual crux of the film is like a coming of age story for a teenage girl going from like, I'm a child to I want to be more grown up, but I don't understand how to do that. Basically, that's what Sarah's character goes through that film, and I just think it's like really good.
It is good. It's really cute as well.
Really good. I also put some like other 80s fantasy films like Willow, The Princess Bride, which is great.
The Goat,
that is a great film and never-ending story.
Yeah. Is that the one where the horse like melts in a swamp or
really
something?
Dark and scary. For some reason, like when they made films in the 80s, they were just like, how do we fuck these children up? How do we traumatize them?
Have you ever seen Legend?
Yeah, Legend's
Tom Cruise?
Great.
Not to be confused with the Tom Hardy Craze film. No.
Legend has got, what's he called as like the devil? Darkness.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry is like this epic looking fucking demon guy.
I remember my mum showing me that, and she was like, "Are you sure you want to watch this? Because it is scary." I was like,
there's 2 versions. There's one with the people that did the music for the original one are called Tangerine Dream, and they did like loads of crazy 80s synth music for it, and then they re-released it with like a more traditional fantasy like orchestra playing soundtrack. It's
getting a 4K release soon.
So the original music is crazy. It's so good.
Yeah, I might buy that soon.
Is it Ridley Scott?
It's either Ridley Scott or his brother Tony Scott. It might, but I'm almost certain it's Ridley Scott.
Yeah. It's really
it's not really talked about that much.
I love the sequences, where I can't remember her name now, but she's like meeting the unicorns and stuff. Like, it just looks
great
like
film.
It looks like the front of a fantasy book.
Yeah.
Like the scenes in it are so beautiful.
And that the makeup on Tim Curry is
it's amazing,
so good. And apparently he had to take a hot bath just so it melted off because he tried taking it off and it ripped his skin. So he had to like sit in a hot bath for an hour just to like have it dissolve.
I think like that and the makeup in The Mask. Those are the two like most transformative makeups ever.
Yeah.
Makeups, is that what I can call it? Like special effects makeups where they didn't really take Tim Curry's face away from it. Like you can still tell it's him, but it's built up so much on his like actual facial structure, like with
Jim Carrey
in The Mask. It's
God
really
bless
cool.
Tim Curry if you're watching, because he's not well, is he? No. So, The Forest of Love and anything with Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, anything involving Jim Henson.
Okay, everyone. I always have to get... You should watch my... when I reviewed... Have you seen the new Saw film? Spiral.
Yeah, that might have been on my like stuff that I didn't like.
Oh, so the one with Chris Rock. Is that, so have you seen it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know I said that the killer on the videotape sounds like Kermit the Frog?
He does. I was thinking that when I went to see it. I was saying that to Jack, like because it was busy, so I was like trying to whisper, like, why does he sound like Kermit? But he does.
He does. Yeah.
Like,
and I did
will pay for what you have done.
It's even more sinister. It's even more sinister. Live or die, make your choice.
Yes. What the fuck?
While Kermit the Frog is Jigsaw, fucking crazy about it. Okay, you've been a great guest. Good opportunity now to plug your little...
Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Okay, I have... I sell jewellery on Etsy, but
I thought you were going to say drugs for some
I
reason.
sell drugs on Etsy. I look like I sell drugs. I sell jewellery on Etsy. It's not like traditional jewellery. It's more like kind of stuff that I'm wearing now, like plastic, tacky looking stuff.
We'll put some pictures on screen now if you're watching.
If you're into like that kind of thing, then maybe check it out. Or if you know someone that is, like, pass it on to them. It's called Cosmic Fruits, and I'm also on TikTok, which is really embarrassing.
Actually?
Yeah, it's really good for marketing. Honestly, it's really good. Like my target audience is like people that.
I recently joined. I recently joined TikTok because I was like, "Oh, I'm not joining that. That's for like people who like Fortnite and stuff."
Yeah.
And then it's literally the funniest. I'm going to show you some videos that I like.
It's so funny. Like the format of it's just perfect.
Yeah.
Like for watching funny things one after the other. But also when I'm doing it, I can just think this is what they fucking want me to do.
Yeah.
Like I look at TikTok before I go to sleep now, which is not good. I used to do yoga. Now I just go on TikTok.
I'll give you a follow on TikTok. That's welcome. Yeah. You do like all the art prints and stuff.
Yeah, I do art prints as well.
Got one myself. It's really good shit, man. It's good shit.
Thank you. Just on Etsy, like that's where I keep most of like. I try and update stuff on there. Also, I'm gonna try and start doing Twitch streaming, but I'm really nervous about it.
I'm gonna encourage you after this.
I feel really awkward about it.
I think it'd be great.
If there was like another person there, that's easier. But just talking to yourself like for ages.
Hi guys, welcome to my stream.
Hi guys, I'm streaming. And I just want to play like PS1 games and PS2 games, basically.
I'd watch that. Absolutely. So you'll have one subber. Is that what they're called or something?
Subber.
I don't know what they're called. One sub. Jesus Christ. On that note, thank you for listening. I'll put all links and all that shite in the description below, and I will see you on the next episode of Get Your Flicks Out. Bye.
Bye. I need a wee.